Jason Barber. Good morning.
Hello, good morning. For the record, my name is Jason Barber of the Transit Riders Union. We'd like to thank Steve Banta for agreeing to meet with us before he left for Phoenix. Other TriMet officials we've tried to meet with have canceled a total of at least 8 times. Now, we're aware that TriMet, as we've heard earlier, is looking to reduce another $20 million from the budget for next fiscal year. Transit Riders Union is already opposed to the fare increase. We are also already opposed to any further service reductions. We believe TriMet's mantra is becoming less service, higher fares, more police. We believe the public has every right to expect TriMet's non-revenue service providing staff will take significant cuts at a time when most of the general public out there is struggling to piece together basic subsistence. Here's my proposal. Reduce salaries above $100,000 by 25% and reduce salaries from $75,000 to $100,000 down to $75,000 and aggressively lobby for outside new revenue service funding. TriMet blames low ridership on the economy. We believe it's actually due to TriMet being unable to provide quality, timely, usable service. A lot of the service is being planned around hypothetical people in a computer simulation, while real people with real places to go living in real neighborhoods find out their local service is being provided by a dirty 20-year-old bus that runs less often and on less days of the week than it has previously at a time when they need transit service. When it runs, potential riders are turned away by the age and the condition of the bus or the amount of time it's going to take to transfer to another bus or another service. Or fare-paying riders have no room to squeeze through an entire bus full of high school students who have received free passes while the Portland Public School District lets them travel to schools that are miles away from their neighborhood school. I'd also like to echo what Cameron Johnson said in December by saying thank you, in quotes, for leaving riders in the cold and wet and by cutting service just as the weather got colder and wetter. Finally, Randy Leonard at the Portland City Council, who Transit Riders Union has spoke to at city council meetings, claims TriMet is not part of the city's jurisdiction. I couldn't disagree more, and I'm running for Portland City Council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. John Charles. Good morning. Hey, John.
Good morning, Mr. President, members of the board. I'd like to address you for 2 issues this morning related to the union contracts. First is, well, I have an interest in knowing what's going on in the negotiations, and I contacted the staff about 5 months ago and asked when the meetings were and if they were open to the public, and I was informed by the general counsel of the agency that they are not open to the public. I was even surprised to find out from a friend of mine yesterday, who's a recently retired TriMet driver, that as a union member, he wanted to go to the contract meetings and was told he can't go. Now, I don't understand why that is. I've gone to school board meetings negotiating with teachers' unions, and admittedly, the 2 sides caucus in private. I understand that, that's fine. But the actual mating ritual in the public there's some benefit to seeing the sides bargain over things. And I believe, given the $200 million plus a year that you have in payroll tax money, that this is a public matter. And I'd like to know why these are private and closed off, and why we can't have them open to the public. Second point is, I'd like to know if you have a strategy for addressing the issues addressed by your budget committee when they reported you about last April. They said that your cost of fringe benefits, specifically, your cost structure is unsustainable over long term, and I agree. Beginning in 2008, the fringe benefits of TriMet exceeded the cost of payroll for the first time in its history, and continue to. I believe it's probably in excess of 122% of payroll, according to your audited financial statements. There may not be a magic number for what the cost of fringe benefits should be. Most employers I know would say, you get about 100% of payroll, that's not going to work over time. I would like to hear from you as the policy board, if you have a goal here in these negotiations. Is it 90%, 80%, 70%, 99%? I believe that's appropriate. Again, I have gone to school board meetings where the school board has said to the union before they even started, you've never paid a penny for health care costs, all the liability is on us. That's not going to happen anymore. Go-home issue for us is we have to share the cost of health care. That was said right out front. I don't think there's a problem with you doing that. And knowing that your cost of fringe benefits is cannibalizing your budget. It's not sustainable. I would like to hear from the policy board some general strategy for what has to happen in these negotiations. Again, I believe you owe that to the public, not that the public wants 300 pages of details hashed out ahead of time in public, but some general benchmarks, some exit strategy here. I think you, the policy board, have to give some direction to the staff here and to the public that you're the stewards of our money. So I'd just like to kind of remind you that, for those of you who weren't active in this, it was in 1994 in the union negotiations where the whole problem you're in now, that was the genesis of it. Those contracts, that's where it all began, this long-term ramp-up of costs. Those negotiations were done completely in private. So private, in fact, that the TriMet board was quite, at least the chairman of the board, was quite upset to discover what the deal was after the fact, and led to a very public discussion in which the chairman, under some pressure from the governor, resigned. Well, the policy board is in charge. You are in charge. I'd like to see you have some outline here before you get to the final signing of the contract when this is still negotiable. So I just would urge you to talk about that today or at some future point and give the public some signal about where you're headed with the key parameters of the contracts. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Charles. Lou Church.
I'm Lou with Transit Riders Union. Jason mentioned our opposition to fare increases and fare hikes. My comments today are kind of addressed to people who supported cutting Fairless Square with the fare hike for buses. We think it's important to remember what the board has done and hold the board accountable, as previous speakers have mentioned. So specifically, we're thinking of George Passadori, John Charles, and the Oregonian editorial board. Who killed Fairless Square? Why? What's the reason for? Not me, said George Passadori, Wells Fargo president, chairman of the TriMet board. I'm just here to collect classic cars. Maserati, Lamborghini, Mercedes-Benz, Humvee, Cadillac, Aston Martin. And number 7, that little Volkswagen Bug. I keep next to my party room. For Fairless Square, I don't care. I'm just here to lower the boom. Who killed Fairless Square? Why? And what's the reason for? Not me, said Bernie Bottomley, chairman of the Portland White People's Business Alliance and God of Many Stones Idolatry. I wouldn't know a TriMet bus from a hole in the ground. I'm just here to make a buck. I don't really give a fuck. Who killed Fairless Square? Why? And what's the reason for? Not me, said the Oregonian editorial board. Typing on their old typewriter. Trains are full and buses suck. Transit riders, we just say good luck. Who killed Fairless Square? Why? And what's the reason for? Not me, said John Charles, the Milton Friedman Policy Institute. It's hard to say, it's hard to tell. Fairless Square, go to hell. Who killed Fairless Square? Why? And what's the reason for? We're here to save it, said TRU, Transit Riders Union. Don't believe TriMet shuck and jive. It's all just a game to them. With Teflon Fred and these TriMet wars, transit riders have to say no war, but class war. No war, but class war.
Thank you. Okay, any further business to come before the board?
I'll wait now.
We are adjourned.